I sat across from Derek in his glass-walled office on a Thursday morning at 11:30. After 13 years of perfect performance reviews, he slid a termination letter across his desk. His exact words, "We're hiring someone younger, someone with fresh energy." I felt my heart drop, but maintained composure. I stood, shook his hand, and said, "Thank you for the opportunity." I packed my desk, walked out at noon. By 2 in the afternoon, my phone showed 25 missed calls. The drive home felt surreal. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my 10-year-old Honda, and I kept replaying Derek's words in my head. Someone younger. Fresh energy. I was 38 years old. I had built Hammond Manufacturing's entire digital infrastructure from the ground up, and now I was being thrown away like an outdated piece of equipment. When I pulled into my driveway, in our quiet Columbus suburb, I just sat there for a moment, staring at the modest 2-story house I'd bought 7 years ago. This job had given me stability, security, a future for my daughter. Now what? I walked inside and went straight to the kitchen, setting my cardboard box of desk items on the counter. A framed photo of Brooke at her sophomore year dance. My coffee mug with World's Best Mom that she'd given me 3 Christmases ago. A small succulent plant that somehow survived my neglect. 13 years reduced to a single box. My phone started buzzing. I pulled it from my purse and stared at the screen. 3 missed calls already. All from Hammond Manufacturing. I set the phone face down on the counter and tried to breathe. I needed to think clearly. I'd started at Hammond when I was 25, fresh out of a technical certification program, eager and hungry to prove myself. They hired me as junior tech support, the only IT person in a company of 30 employees. Over the next 13 years, I'd watched the company grow to over 60 employees, and I'd grown with it. I built everything. The inventory management system that tracked every part, every shipment, every order, the cloud backup protocols that protected years of company data, the automated payroll processing that ensured everyone got paid correctly and on time, the cybersecurity measures that kept us safe from constant threats, the entire server network that kept the company running 24 hours a day. Everything ran through systems only I fully understood. I documented the basics, written manuals for simple tasks, but the complex integrations, the way everything connected and communicated, that knowledge lived in my head. I'd trained others on basic maintenance, how to reset passwords, how to run standard reports, but I'd never had budget approval to hire a full IT team. It was always just me, and now it wasn't. Derek had been making comments for months. He was 29 years old, the CEO's nephew, promoted to operations manager 6 months ago despite having exactly 0 manufacturing experience. He came from some startup in California that went under, and his uncle Harold gave him a second chance. From day one, Derek treated me like I was ancient. He'd ask when I was planning to retire, even though I'd told him I had no such plans. He'd make jokes about dinosaurs who couldn't keep up with modern systems, even though my systems were cutting edge. He'd roll his eyes in meetings when I'd explain technical issues, like I was boring him with outdated information. Last month, he'd actually asked me if I knew what cloud computing was. I'd built our entire cloud infrastructure in 2017. I'd migrated us from physical servers to hybrid cloud systems. I'd saved the company hundreds of thousands of dollars with smart, scalable solutions. And this kid was questioning my knowledge? But I kept quiet. I needed this job. I was a single mom. Brooke's dad had left when she was 2, and I'd raised her alone. This job was our stability. And now it was gone. My phone buzzed again. Then again. Then it started ringing. I picked it up and saw Derek's name flashing on the screen. I declined the call. It immediately rang again. Declined. It rang a 3rd time. I turned off the ringer and set the phone down. The front door opened and I heard Brooke's voice. "Mom? Why is your car here? Are you sick?" She appeared in the kitchen doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She was 16, tall and beautiful and so much smarter than I'd ever been at her age. She took one look at my face, and her expression shifted from confusion to concern. "Mom? What's wrong?" I tried to smile but felt my eyes filling with tears. "I lost my job, honey." "What? How? You're the best at what you do." "Derek fired me this morning. He said they're hiring someone younger." Brooke's face flushed with anger. "That's illegal. That's age discrimination. Mom, you're not even 40 yet." "I know, sweetheart, I know." She dropped her backpack and came to hug me. We stood there in the kitchen, and I let myself cry for the first time since walking out of that office. By 5 o'clock that evening, I had 63 missed calls, most from Derek, several from the CFO, Martin, a few from the operations manager, Grace, even one from Susan, the receptionist. There was a voicemail from Derek, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. "Charmaine, you need to call me back immediately. This is a crisis situation. I don't know what you did before you left, but you need to fix it." I stared at my phone in confusion. What I did? I didn't do anything. I'd packed my personal items and left. I hadn't touched any systems. I hadn't changed any passwords. I hadn't sabotaged anything. Then it hit me. Thursday, at 1 in the afternoon. The automated backup system runs a weekly deep maintenance protocol every Thursday at that exact time. It's a complex process that checks every server, every connection, every backup file. If anything goes even slightly wrong during that protocol, the whole system locks down as a safety measure. It requires manual override with administrator credentials. My credentials. Without me there to monitor it, to respond if something went wrong, the entire system would have shut itself down to prevent data corruption. It was a safety feature I'd built in 5 years ago. It had only triggered twice before, both times when I was on vacation and hadn't properly prepared for my absence. But I wasn't on vacation. I'd been fired at 11:30 that morning with no notice, no transition period, no chance to prepare systems for my departure. The shipping system, the inventory management, the order processing, everything would have crashed, and they couldn't bring it back up without me. I felt a strange flash of vindication, followed immediately by guilt. There were 50 people working at Hammond Manufacturing. Good people. People whose livelihoods depended on orders shipping on time. Janet in the warehouse, who'd been my only real friend there for 8 years. Marcus in production, who always remembered my birthday. Susan at the front desk, who brought me cookies every Christmas. They were suffering because Derek made a stupid, impulsive, discriminatory decision. I deleted Derek's voicemail without responding. My phone buzzed with a text from Janet. "Charmaine, what happened? Derek is saying you quit, but that doesn't sound right. The entire shipping system just crashed. We can't process any orders." "He's freaking out," I texted back. "I didn't quit. He fired me this morning." 3 dots appeared immediately, then her response. "What? Why?" "He said they're hiring someone younger." "Oh my God, Charmaine. I'm so sorry. But listen, he's screaming that you sabotaged something before you left." "Did you?" My stomach dropped. "No, I didn't touch anything. I just packed my desk and left." He's losing his mind. He sent Tyler home early to figure things out. "Who's Tyler?" "Some 23-year-old kid Derek hired yesterday. Said he's our new IT guy." I felt like I'd been punched. Derek had already hired my replacement before he even fired me. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. "Janet, I have to go. I'll call you later." I sat at my kitchen table as the afternoon light faded into evening. Brooke made us grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner, something she hadn't done since she was 12. We ate in silence, both of us processing what this meant for our future. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My phone showed I'd missed 37 more calls in the evening hours. Derek, Martin, the CFO, even a number I didn't recognize. I thought about those 50 employees. I thought about Janet and Marcus and Susan. I thought about the small family-owned suppliers who depended on Hammond Manufacturing's orders. I thought about the clients waiting for shipments that wouldn't arrive. But I also thought about Derek's face when he'd said someone younger. The dismissive way he treated me for 6 months. The calculated cruelty of hiring my replacement before even telling me I was fired. They made their choice. They decided I was disposable. They decided 13 years of loyalty and excellence meant nothing compared to saving money on a younger worker's salary. Now they would learn what I was actually worth. I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Friday morning, I woke up to find 17 new missed calls and an email marked urgent in my inbox. The sender was Derek, with CEO Harold Hammond CC'd. I made coffee and sat at my laptop to read it. Charmaine, we need you to provide all system passwords and access protocols immediately. This is company property, and you are legally obligated to provide access. Failure to comply will result in legal consequences. Respond by 9 a.m. Derek Walsh, Operations Manager. I read it 3 times, feeling my anger build with each pass. Legal consequences? For what? Being fired without notice and not being available to clean up their mess? I took a long sip of coffee and typed my response. Derek, all standard system passwords were documented in the IT folder on the shared drive, as per company protocol established in 2019. Any issues accessing systems should be directed to your new IT hire. Best regards, Charmaine? I hit send and felt a small thrill of satisfaction. The passwords would get them into the systems, but without understanding the architecture I'd built, without knowing how everything connected, they'd never figure out how to restart the maintenance protocol properly. They could log in, but they couldn't fix what was broken. Brooke came downstairs in her pajamas. No school? Teacher workday, remember? Oh, right. Mom, have you heard anything? Just a demanding email about passwords. I sent them what they needed. She poured herself orange juice and sat across from me. What are you going to do? I don't know, honey. Look for a new job, I guess. Good. They don't deserve you. My phone buzzed with a text from Janet. Charmaine, they hired Derek's 23-year-old gaming buddy, Tyler. He has a 2-year tech degree. He's been here since 6 this morning and has made everything worse. The whole main server is down now. We can't even access email. Derek is losing his mind. I showed Brooke the text. She shook her head. A 2-year degree to replace you? Mom, you have 13 years of experience and multiple advanced certifications. That's insulting. I know. At 10 o'clock that morning, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Charmaine? The voice was older, male, stressed. Yes? This is Harold Hammond. I'm the CEO of Hammond Manufacturing. I sat up straighter. Harold Hammond was Derek's uncle, the company founder, a man in his mid-60s who'd built Hammond from nothing 40 years ago. I'd met him maybe 5 times in 13 years. He was usually hands-off, letting his managers run operations. Yes, Mr. Hammond. How can I help you? Charmaine, I just found out what happened yesterday. Derek told me you quit. I had no idea he fired you. This is a disaster. And I'm calling to apologize and to ask, please, can you come back? We need you. Name your price. My heart started racing. The CEO didn't know. Derek had lied to him. Derek had acted on his own authority to fire me and then covered it up. Mr. Hammond, I appreciate you calling. Derek did fire me yesterday. He said you were hiring someone younger with fresh energy. There was a long pause. He said I wanted that? Yes, sir. Another pause. I could hear him breathing, could almost feel his anger through the phone. Charmaine, I'm deeply sorry. This should never have happened. Please, come back. I'll personally guarantee your position. Whatever salary you want. We're dead in the water without you. For a moment I was tempted. The CEO himself was apologizing, begging me to return. But then he continued. Just for a few days, to train Tyler properly and transition everything. Then you can leave with a good severance package. 3 months' pay. How does that sound? And there it was. They still wanted to replace me. They just needed me to fix their disaster first, train my younger, cheaper replacement, and then disappear quietly. Mr. Hammond, with all respect, Derek fired me for discriminatory reasons. He's been making comments about my age for months. And you're asking me to come back temporarily to train the person who's replacing me. That's not really solving the problem, is it? His tone shifted, frustration creeping in. Charmaine, be reasonable. You're putting 50 people's jobs at risk. We have orders we can't fill. Clients threatening to leave. This is bigger than you and Derek. Something in me snapped. With respect, sir. Derek said you were hiring someone younger with fresh energy. I'm sure that fresh energy will solve this problem. I need to focus on finding new employment. I wish you the best. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking. I just hung up on the CEO. But I also felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. For 13 years, I'd made myself indispensable but never demanded proper recognition. I'd been comfortable, safe, and undervalued. Now they were drowning without me, and I finally understood what I was actually worth. Brooke was staring at me with wide eyes. Mom, that was badass. I couldn't help but laugh, slightly hysterical. I might have just made things worse for myself. Or better. You stood up for yourself. That afternoon, I called my best friend, Natalie. We'd known each other since college, and she'd become a labor attorney specializing in employment discrimination. We met at a coffee shop near her office in downtown Columbus. I told her everything, the months of comments from Derek, the sudden termination, the job offer that was really just using me to fix their mess. Natalie listened carefully, taking notes. Charmaine. This is textbook age discrimination. Absolutely textbook. Do you have any documentation? Emails? Performance reviews? Years of them. My performance reviews have been excellent every single year, and Derek sent me plenty of emails with comments about my age. Don't contact them again. Don't answer their calls. Let me handle this from now on. And whatever you do, don't go back and fix their systems. That's your leverage. The longer they suffer, the more they'll realize what they lost. But what about the other employees? Good people are suffering because of Derek's mistake. Natalie's expression softened. I know it's hard, but this isn't your responsibility anymore. Derek created this situation. Harold Hammond enabled it by not properly supervising his nephew. You don't owe them anything. That evening, Janet texted me again. They sent everyone home. We can't do anything. No systems work. Tyler apparently crashed the backup server trying to restore it. Charmaine, the company is at a complete standstill. I felt guilty but stood firm. I texted back, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's not fair to you and the others. I know you can't come back. Derek burned that bridge. But I wanted you to know everyone is asking about you. We all know what really happened. Derek is blaming you for everything. But nobody believes him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those 50 employees who couldn't work, but I also kept hearing Derek's voice. Someone younger. Fresh energy. They wanted fresh? Let them have it. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 8 o'clock. It was Janet, and for the first time, she was actually calling instead of texting. Charmaine, I need to tell you something. I should have told you before, but I was scared for my job. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. What is it? Janet's voice was shaking. Derek has been planning to fire you for 3 months. Since March. He told me and several other managers that you were over the hill and couldn't keep up with modern systems. He said you were a liability. What? It was all lies, Charmaine. Your systems are incredible. Everyone knows that. But Derek wanted to bring in Tyler at a much lower salary. He told Harold that you were planning to retire anyway, and they needed to ease in new talent. He made it sound like it was your idea. I felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. Harold thought I wanted to leave? That's what Derek told him. That you'd been talking about retirement, that you were tired, that you wanted to slow down. It was all bullshit. Derek was setting this up for months. Why didn't you tell me? I'm so sorry. Derek threatened me. He said if anyone told you, They'd be fired too. He has Harold's ear because he's family. I was scared. I have 2 kids and a mortgage. I'm so sorry. Janet, it's okay. I understand. There's more. Derek promised Tyler $50,000 a year. You were making $85,000. This was about money, Charmaine. Derek's been under pressure to cut costs. Harold gave him a budget target, and Derek decided the easiest way to meet it was to replace you with someone cheaper. After I hung up with Janet, I spent hours going through my personal email archives. I'd forwarded work emails to my personal account over the years, mostly so I could work from home when needed. I found everything. Emails from Derek asking about my retirement plans, messages where he made jokes about my age. A particularly damning email from April where he'd written, "We need younger blood in this department. Someone who can keep up with fast-paced changes." I forwarded everything to Natalie with a simple subject line, "Evidence." She called me within an hour. "Charmaine, this is perfect. This is an airtight age discrimination case. The evidence is overwhelming. We can file a formal complaint with the EEOC and pursue a civil lawsuit. How long does that take?" "It can take time. Settlements sometimes take months, even a year or more. Can you survive financially that long?" My stomach dropped. "My savings will last maybe 3 months. I can't touch Brooke's college fund." "Start looking for other work immediately. But don't settle too quickly. You have a strong case here, and companies hate these lawsuits. They're expensive, they're public, and they're embarrassing. Hammond will want to settle." That evening, I received a formal letter via email from Hammond Manufacturing's attorney. My hands shook as I read it. The letter accused me of intentionally sabotaging systems before leaving. It claimed I was violating my employment contract by refusing to provide assistance during the transition period. It stated that I could be liable for hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages from lost business. The letter demanded I return Monday morning to fulfill my professional obligations or face legal action. I forwarded it to Natalie immediately and called her in a panic. "Can they do this? Can they actually sue me?" Natalie laughed, which surprised me. "Charmaine, this is a bluff. They have nothing. You didn't sabotage anything. Their systems failed because they fired the only person who knew how to run them properly. That's their liability, not yours. You don't have any legal obligation to return. Employment in Ohio is at will. They can fire you for any reason and you can refuse to work for any reason. But what if I'm wrong? What if this ruins me financially?" "It won't. Trust me. This letter is desperation. They're trying to scare you into helping them because they're hemorrhaging money every day those systems are down." But I was scared. I'd never been involved in anything legal before. I'd never been threatened with a lawsuit. I was just an IT person who wanted to do good work and take care of her daughter. Sunday morning, I woke up to an email that had been sent at 2 in the morning. The subject line read, "Please, we need you." It was from Harold Hammond. Personal email address, not the company one. "Charmaine, I know it's late, and I know you're angry. You have every right to be. I've spent the weekend reviewing everything, and I realize Derek misled me about your situation. I had no idea he'd been making discriminatory comments. I had no idea you didn't want to leave. I trusted him because he's family. And that was my mistake. Our biggest client just threatened to cancel a $3 million contract because we can't fulfill orders. 2 other clients are talking about legal action for breach of contract. The company my father built 40 years ago is falling apart in less than a week. I'm asking you, person to person, please help us. Come back as a consultant. 2 weeks of work, $100,000. Just get the systems running and train Tyler enough that we can survive. Please, Harold. $100,000. I stared at that number. That would solve my immediate crisis. That would refill my savings, secure Brooke's college fund, give me breathing room to find the right job instead of taking the first one I could find. But it would also let them off the hook. It would fix their problem while my discrimination case was still pending. It would make me look opportunistic rather than wronged. I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee and thought about my father. He died 3 years ago. but I could still hear his voice. Charmaine, sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. I didn't respond to Harold's email. Instead, I spent Sunday afternoon updating my resume for the first time in 13 years. Sunday afternoon, Brooke found me at the kitchen table, laptop open, resume displayed on the screen. She sat down across from me. Mom, I need to say something. What's wrong, honey? I heard you on the phone with Natalie yesterday. I know they offered you $100,000 to go back. Brooke, you shouldn't have been listening. I know, but I'm glad I did, because I need you to hear this. You worked there for 13 years. You gave them everything. You missed my dance recitals because of emergency server crashes. You worked weekends and holidays. You made that place run, and they threw you away like you meant nothing. If you go back now, even for 2 weeks, they win. They get what they want and you're still unemployed in 14 days. But honey, that money would help us so much. We'll be okay, Mom. You taught me that we don't compromise our values for convenience. You've been telling me that my whole life. Don't go back. I felt tears in my eyes. When had my little girl become so wise? You're right. I'm not going back. She smiled and hugged me. Good. Because you're worth so much more than they ever gave you credit for. Monday morning at 7:30, I was drinking coffee and scrolling through job listings when my phone rang. Unknown number again. Hello? Charmaine? It was Janet, but her voice was strange. Scared. What's wrong? Derek just fired me. He said I've been in contact with you, and that's sabotage. He fired 3 other people too. Anyone he thinks might have talked to you. My blood ran cold. Janet, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. He's lost his mind. But Charmaine, there's more. Someone from the State Labor Department called the office this morning. They said they received a formal complaint about workplace discrimination. Derek is panicking. I was confused. I haven't filed anything yet. Natalie said we should wait until we had everything documented. I filed it, Janet said quietly. What? Sunday night, I filed a complaint with the EEOC. I gave a statement about Derek's pattern of age discrimination comments, about how he planned your termination for months, about the comments he made in management meetings. I couldn't stay silent anymore, Charmaine. What he did to you was wrong. And now he's retaliating against anyone who supported you. Someone has to stop him. I didn't know what to say. Janet had just sacrificed her job for me. Janet, thank you. But I'm so sorry you lost your job because of this. Don't be sorry. Be strong. Fight him. Win. After we hung up, Natalie called me within the hour. One of your former coworkers filed an EEOC complaint on your behalf as a witness. This changes everything. There's now an official federal investigation starting. The EEOC will contact Hammond Manufacturing this week. Janet filed it, and Derek fired her for it this morning. He fired 3 other people too. That's retaliation, which is also illegal. Derek is digging himself deeper with every move. This is actually good for your case, though I'm sorry for your friends. Monday afternoon, I received a forwarded email from Janet's personal account. Derek had sent it to the entire company. Team, due to corporate sabotage by a former disgruntled employee, we are experiencing temporary technical difficulties. We are pursuing all legal options against the individual responsible. We appreciate your patience as we work through this transition. Derek Walsh, Operations Manager. He was publicly blaming me without naming me, but everyone would know who he meant. I felt violated, angry, but also strangely calm. Derek was revealing himself. Every email, every decision, every retaliatory action was building the case against him. By Monday evening, the situation at Hammond Manufacturing had reached critical mass. Janet, now fired but still in contact with former coworkers, sent me updates. The major client who represented 30% of Hammond's annual revenue had officially canceled their contract. 2 other clients were threatening legal action for missed deliveries. Employees were terrified about company-wide layoffs. And Tyler, the 23-year-old who was supposed to replace me, had quit Sunday night. According to Janet's sources, he'd sent Derek an email saying the job was way more complicated than Derek had described, and he didn't have the experience to handle it. I felt a pang of sympathy for Tyler. He was just a kid who thought he was getting a good opportunity. Derek had used him too. That evening, as I was making dinner, Natalie called with news that made my hands freeze on the cutting board. Charmaine, I did some digging into Hammond Manufacturing's finances. Public records show they took out a major loan 8 months ago. $3 million. They're not just struggling because of the IT shutdown. They were already in financial trouble. What does that mean? It means Derek's plan to save money by replacing you with cheaper labor wasn't just discrimination. It was desperation. The company was bleeding money, and he was trying to cut costs anywhere he could. Your salary was an easy target. I thought about Harold's email, the desperation in his words, the company his father built falling apart. If Hammond Manufacturing goes under, 50 people lose their jobs. Yes, Natalie said carefully. But that's not your responsibility, Charmaine. You didn't create their financial problems. You didn't fire yourself. You didn't make the decisions that led them here. But if I help them, Derek faces no consequences. Exactly. This is your choice. You can be merciful, or you can demand justice. Both are valid. But understand that if you help them now, your leverage disappears. I thought about this for hours after we hung up. I thought about Janet losing her job for defending me. I thought about the other 3 employees Derek fired in retaliation. I thought about Derek's calculated cruelty. I thought about Harold's enabling of his nephew's behavior. And I thought about my daughter's words, if you go back now, they win. At 9 o'clock Monday night, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Harold Hammond standing on my porch. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 5 days. I opened the door. Mr. Hammond. Charmaine, please. Can we just talk? I hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. I offered Harold coffee, which he accepted gratefully. We sat in my living room, this 65-year-old CEO and me, and for a moment neither of us spoke. Finally, he began. I owe you an apology that goes beyond business. I failed you. I failed my employees. I failed my own father's legacy. Mr. Hammond, please, let me finish. I've been too hands-off. When my sister asked me to give Derek a chance after his startup failed, I said yes because he's family. I gave him authority he wasn't ready for. I didn't supervise him properly. I trusted him when I should have been verifying, and you paid the price for my negligence. He looked genuinely anguished, and I felt my anger softening slightly. Derek lied to me about everything, he continued. He told me you wanted to retire. He told me Tyler was highly qualified. He told me the cost-cutting was necessary and strategic. I didn't question him because I wanted to believe my nephew was capable. I wanted to help him succeed. Instead, he destroyed a good person's career and nearly destroyed my company. What do you want from me, Mr. Hammond? I want to make this right. Come back as Director of Information Technology. It's a promotion. $110,000 per year. Full benefits, retirement contribution, guaranteed 3-year contract. Derek will be restructured to a different role where he can't hurt anyone. You'll report directly to me. It was a good offer. Better than anything I'd made at Hammond. Security. Recognition. Validation. What happens to Derek? Harold hesitated. He's family, Charmaine. I can't fire him. His mother, my sister, she's been through so much. But I can move him. I can minimize his authority. He won't have power over you. And there it was. Derek would face no real consequences. He'd discriminated against me, lied about me, retaliated against employees who supported me, and he'd get transferred to another department with his salary intact. Mr. Hammond, I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate the offer, but I need to decline. He looked shocked. Why? This is a great offer, because you're asking me to come back and fix the mess, pretend nothing happened, and watch the person who discriminated against me keep his job and his salary. That's not justice, Mr. Hammond. That's just convenient for you. His expression hardened. So you're going to let 50 people lose their jobs because you want revenge? I kept my voice calm. I'm not the one who put them at risk. Derek did that when he fired me with no transition plan. You did that when you didn't supervise him properly. This isn't my fault, and fixing your mistakes isn't my responsibility. Harold stood up, his coffee untouched. You're making a mistake, Charmaine. This offer won't be available tomorrow. I understand. Thank you for coming. He left without another word. After he was gone, I sat on my couch shaking. I just refused a six-figure job offer. I just told off a CEO. I just chosen principal over security. Brooke came downstairs. She'd been in her room but must have heard everything. I'm proud of you, Mom. I pulled her into a hug. I hope I didn't just make a huge mistake. You didn't. You taught me something tonight. You taught me that self-respect is worth more than money. Tuesday morning, I called Natalie. I'm ready to file the formal lawsuit. Age discrimination, hostile work environment, wrongful termination. Are you sure? This will burn every bridge with Hammond Manufacturing. You'll never work there again. I don't want to work there. I want them to admit what they did. I want Derek to face consequences. I want other women my age to know they can fight back. Okay then, let's do this. By Tuesday afternoon, Hammond Manufacturing received formal notice of the lawsuit. The complaint included testimony from Janet and two other fired employees, emails documenting Derek's discriminatory comments, performance reviews proving my excellence, and evidence of the rushed termination. Janet texted me. Derek had a complete meltdown when the lawsuit arrived. Screamed at Harold, blamed everyone else, said you were extorting the company. Harold looked disgusted with him. First time I've ever seen Harold look at Derek like that. I felt vindicated, but also strangely empty. I didn't enjoy Derek's suffering. I just wanted acknowledgement that what happened to me was wrong. Tuesday evening, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Is this Charmaine Richards? Yes. Who's this? My name is Marcus Chen. I'm the CEO of TechBridge Solutions. We're a major IT consulting firm based in Columbus. I've been following the situation with Hammond Manufacturing, and I'd like to discuss a position with my company. I was stunned into silence. Miss Richards? Are you there? Yes. I'm here. I'm just surprised. How did you hear about me? Your story is making the rounds in Ohio IT circles. Someone who built a 13-year infrastructure single-handedly and the company collapsed in 4 days without her? That's not just impressive. That's legendary. We want someone with your skills and institutional knowledge. I don't understand. I just filed a discrimination lawsuit. Most companies would consider me a liability. Marcus laughed. Miss Richards, you stood up for yourself against age discrimination. You documented everything properly. You're working with an attorney. You did everything right. That tells me you're professional, ethical, and not someone who can be pushed around. Those are exactly the qualities we value. He outlined the position: Senior IT Systems Consultant, $120,000 per year, full remote work options, a team of 6 people under her supervision. The job involved designing custom systems for manufacturing clients across the Midwest. We need someone who understands how manufacturing companies actually work, Marcus explained. Someone who's built systems in the real world, not just in theory. You're perfect for this. When would you need me to start? How about 2 weeks? We need to run background checks and finalize the contract, but if everything checks out, you could start the first Monday of July. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mr. Chen, I accept. Thank you. Please, call me Marcus. Welcome to TechBridge, Charmaine. I think you're going to do great things here. After we hung up, I just sat there in shock. Then I started laughing, then crying, then both at the same time. Brooke heard me and came running downstairs. Mom? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, honey. Everything's right. I just got a job offer, better than anything Hammond ever gave me. She started crying too, and we hugged in the middle of the kitchen, both of us overwhelmed with relief. That night, I slept better than I had in a week. I had income secured. I had justice in motion. I had vindication. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in months, maybe years. I'd been so focused on being grateful for what I had at Hammond that I'd never stopped to wonder if I deserved better. Now I knew. I deserved so much better. Wednesday morning, Natalie called me early. Hammond Manufacturing's attorney wants to talk settlement. Already? They're hemorrhaging money every day. The EEOC investigation started yesterday, which means federal oversight. The lawsuit is public record, which means bad publicity. And from what I'm hearing through legal channels, their financial situation is dire. They want this to go away quickly and quietly. What are they offering? $50,000. No admission of wrongdoing? Confidentiality agreement? I felt insulted. That's barely 6 months' salary. I know. I already rejected it. I told them you've secured new employment at a higher salary, and you're not interested in quietly going away. They were surprised. What do we counter with? Natalie and I discussed strategy for an hour. Finally, we agreed on terms. $200,000 in damages and back pay, including benefits. Derek's termination from Hammond Manufacturing. A public apology acknowledging the discrimination occurred. A professional letter of recommendation. An agreement that Hammond Manufacturing would implement mandatory age discrimination training for all managers. They're not going to agree to fire Derek, Natalie warned. Then we go to trial. I have a job now. I can wait. But we didn't have to wait long. Wednesday afternoon, Janet called me with news that made my hands shake. Charmaine, Derek was arrested this morning. What? The financial investigation into Hammond Manufacturing exposed everything. Derek's been embezzling money for 6 months. He created fake vendor accounts and was routing payments to himself. The IT shutdown brought in auditors, and they found it all. I couldn't process this. How much? Around $30,000 over 6 months. He was stealing from the company while claiming they needed to cut costs. That's why he was so desperate to reduce expenses everywhere else. He was trying to hide what he was taking. Everything suddenly made sense. The financial crisis. The desperate cost-cutting. Derek's panic when systems crashed and auditors came in. He wasn't just discriminating against me. He was covering up his own crimes. Harold must be devastated, I said quietly. He is, but he's also furious. Derek betrayed everyone. The family, the company, the employees, everything. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Harold Hammond. Charmaine, you were right about everything. I failed to see what was right in front of me. Derek has been arrested for embezzlement. The investigation revealed he'd been stealing from the company for months. Your termination was part of a larger pattern of ethical bankruptcy that I was too blind to see. His voice cracked. I'm settling your lawsuit on your terms. Whatever you want, you deserve justice, and I'm going to make sure you get it. Mr. Hammond, I'm not taking any pleasure in your pain. I know you're not. That's why you're a better person than I deserve. My attorney will contact yours today. Please, tell me what you need to feel like justice was served. Natalie and I finalized the settlement terms that evening. Hammond Manufacturing agreed to everything. $250,000, $50,000 more than I'd asked for. Full acknowledgement of wrongful termination in a statement released to all employees. A professional letter of recommendation praising my 13 years of excellent service. Payment for mandatory discrimination training for all remaining management. And Derek's permanent termination from the company. But Derek wouldn't be coming back anyway. He was facing criminal charges for embezzlement, fraud, and theft. His career was destroyed. His relationship with his family was shattered. His future was prison. I felt no satisfaction in his downfall. Just sadness at the waste of it all. The settlement also included offers to Janet and the 3 other employees Derek had fired in retaliation. They were offered their jobs back with full back pay and formal apologies. Janet called me crying. I can go back. I can pay my mortgage. Thank you, Charmaine. You don't have to thank me, Janet. You stood up for me when it cost you everything. I'll never forget that. 2 weeks later, I walked into TechBridge Solutions for my first day. The office was in a modern building in downtown Columbus, with views of the river. My team of 6 people greeted me warmly. They'd heard my story and respected me for fighting back. Marcus showed me to my office, a corner space with windows and actual, natural light. "Welcome to TechBridge, Charmaine. We're excited to have you here." That first week, I designed a custom inventory management system for a furniture manufacturer in Cincinnati. My team was talented and respectful. The work was challenging and engaging. I felt valued for the first time in years. Brooke was proud of me. She told everyone at school about how her mom beat the bad guys. I used part of the settlement money to fully fund her college account. The rest went into emergency savings and retirement. I'd never feel vulnerable again. 3 weeks after being fired, on a Friday evening, I received an email from Harold Hammond. Subject: Thank you. Charmaine, I owe you more than an apology. You were the backbone of this company, and I failed to see it until it was too late. Because of your lawsuit, we've implemented real changes. Mandatory training on discrimination. Better oversight of management. A commitment to valuing experience rather than just cutting costs. Derek is facing criminal charges and has been permanently removed from the company. I'm working with a professional IT consulting firm to rebuild our systems properly, with a full team and proper support. You deserved better than what we gave you. I hope TechBridge appreciates you the way we should have. Thank you for your 13 years of excellence. You made Hammond Manufacturing possible, even if I was too blind to acknowledge it. Harold. I read the email 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and looked at the framed settlement check on my wall. Not for the money, but as a reminder. A reminder that I'd stood up for myself. A reminder that justice exists when you fight for it. A reminder that endings can be beginnings. 3 months after Derek fired me, I sat in my home office on a Friday afternoon, finishing up a systems design project for a client in Indianapolis. The work was satisfying, challenging, exactly what I'd hoped for in my career, but never thought I'd find. I thought about that Thursday morning, when Derek slid the termination letter across his desk. How my world seemed to collapse in an instant. How terrified I'd been. How small I'd felt. When I walked out of Hammond Manufacturing at noon that day, I thought my career was over. I thought being 38 was somehow a liability. I thought younger meant better, fresher, more valuable. I was wrong about all of it. The systems crashed at Hammond because they needed me, and I'd never fully understood my own value. For 13 years, I'd made myself indispensable, but never demanded proper recognition or compensation. I was comfortable, safe, and undervalued. I accepted being treated as less than I was worth because I was grateful to have stability. Getting fired was the most painful thing that happened to me professionally. It was also the catalyst that forced me to fight for myself in ways I'd never done before. Derek's age discrimination wasn't really about my age. It was about power and money. He saw me as disposable because I'd never stood up for myself before. I was loyal, reliable, quiet, easy to take advantage of. Easy to replace with someone cheaper who would accept less. When I finally set boundaries, when I demanded respect, when I refused to fix their mess just to make things convenient for them, everything changed. My laptop pinged with a video call notification, Marcus checking in for our weekly one-on-one. Charmaine, great work on the Indianapolis project. The client is thrilled. I wanted to let you know we're promoting you to senior director. You've been with us 3 months, and you've already exceeded every expectation. Thank you, Marcus. I'm honestly surprised. Don't be. You're exceptional at what you do, and you advocate for yourself. That's exactly the kind of leader we want. The new salary is $140,000, effective immediately. After the call ended, I just sat there for a moment. $140,000. $55,000 more than I'd made at Hammond after 13 years of service. And I'd earned it in 3 months by being excellent and expecting to be treated accordingly. That evening, Brooke came home from her part-time job at the local coffee shop. She looked upset. "Mom, can I talk to you?" "Always. What's wrong?" "My manager, Travis. He's been treating me really poorly, making me work the worst shifts, criticizing everything I do, giving the good tips to his favorites. Today he told me I should be grateful to even have this job. I felt my protective instincts flare, but I kept my voice calm. What do you want to do about it? I don't know. I need the money for gas and stuff, but I hate going to work now. Let me tell you something, honey. You teach people how to treat you. If someone doesn't value you, don't wait 13 years to leave like I did. Know your worth and don't settle for being treated poorly just because it's convenient or comfortable. But what if I can't find another job? You will. You're smart, responsible, and hardworking. Any coffee shop would be lucky to have you. Don't let Travis make you feel small just because he has a little bit of power. That's his problem, not yours. The next day, Brooke quit her job and had a new one by the end of the week, at a different coffee shop where the manager appreciated her. She'd learned the lesson faster than I did. Over the following months, I heard updates about Hammond Manufacturing through Janet, who'd returned to her position as warehouse manager. The company hired a proper IT team of 4 people to do what I'd done alone. They were stable now, functioning, but they'd never fully recover from the crisis. Several major clients had left permanently. The company had downsized from 60 employees to 45. Harold Hammond stepped down as CEO 6 months after my termination, handing leadership to an outside hire with manufacturing experience. He stayed on the board but admitted he was too close to the situation to lead effectively anymore. Derek pled guilty to embezzlement charges. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay full restitution. His career in business was finished. His relationship with his family was destroyed. I felt no satisfaction in his punishment, just sadness at how much damage one person's unethical behavior could cause. Sadness for Harold, who trusted his nephew and been betrayed. Sadness for the employees who'd lost their jobs in the downsizing. Sadness for Derek himself, who'd thrown away his future for $30,000 and a sense of power. But mostly, I felt grateful. Grateful that I'd been pushed out of a situation where I was undervalued. Grateful that I'd found the courage to fight back. Grateful that I'd discovered my worth before I wasted another 13 years in a place that didn't appreciate me. A year after being fired, I was promoted again at TechBridge to Vice President of Systems Design. My salary was $170,000. I led a team of 20 consultants across the Midwest. I was respected, valued, and challenged in ways I'd never experienced at Hammond. Brooke was applying to colleges, confident and self-assured. She'd learned from watching me that you don't accept mistreatment just because standing up for yourself is uncomfortable. One evening, as we sat at the kitchen table working on her college essays, she asked, "Mom, do you ever regret how everything happened? Like, do you wish Derek hadn't fired you?" I thought about it carefully. No, honey. I wish he hadn't discriminated against me. I wish I'd recognized my value years earlier. But getting fired was the push I needed to stop settling for less than I deserved. I was comfortable at Hammond, but I wasn't growing. I wasn't being challenged. I was just existing. So it was a good thing? It was a hard thing that led to good things. There's a difference. I looked at the framed settlement check on my wall, not for the money, but for what it represented. Proof that I'd stood up for myself. Proof that justice exists when you fight for it. Proof that endings can be beginnings if you're brave enough to walk through the door instead of clinging to what's familiar. Your value isn't determined by how indispensable you make yourself to people who don't appreciate you. It's determined by how clearly you recognize your own worth and refuse to accept less. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the push you needed to find something better. Age isn't a liability. Experience, knowledge, and expertise are assets. The moment you stop making yourself small to fit into spaces that don't value you is the moment your life expands. Loyalty should be reciprocal. If someone can dismiss you after years of excellent work, they never deserved your loyalty in the first place. That Thursday at noon when I walked out of Hammond Manufacturing, I thought I was walking away from my career. I didn't realize I was walking toward my future. And sometimes, the best thing anyone can do for you is let you go so you can finally see how much you were holding yourself back. So let me ask you something. Have you ever stayed somewhere too long because it was comfortable, even though you weren't valued? Have you ever accepted less than you deserved because you were afraid of change? What would happen if you finally demanded the respect and recognition you've earned? If this story resonated with you, please leave a comment sharing your own experience with standing up for yourself at work. Hit that like button if you believe experience and expertise should be valued over age. Subscribe to hear more stories about fighting back against injustice and finding the courage to demand better. And please share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to recognize your worth. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve respect, recognition, and compensation that matches your value. Never let anyone convince you that your experience makes you disposable. It makes you invaluable. Keep fighting for yourselves out there. You're worth it.